Hello, and welcome to I Am Dad Podcast with your fatherhood authority, Kenneth Braswell. 30 minutes of wisdom, information, resources, and nuggets to help you on your fatherhood journey. Or maybe you're just curious and want to hear some real talk about fatherhood, family, and the minds of men. Well, guess what? We got you too. Sit back, grab your pad and pen, and maybe even bring a little something to sip on. Enjoy 30 straight minutes of fatherhood, family, and fun with the Fatherhood Authority, Kenneth Braswell.
Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. I know y'all been waiting all year long for just a little bit of recognition. Being the great dads that you are. I'm all over the place today. I got notes and I got pictures and things that remind me of all kinds of things as it relates to Father's Day. And this Father's Day is no different. I've come along a long journey over the last year. Some of you have seen me share my health journey, more specifically my teeth journey. As in the beginning of this year, I had to have all of my teeth extracted from my mouth because of a viral infection I had that was damaging all of my teeth. And so the remedy of that was to extract all of them and start fresh again. And so it was rough. I'm not even gonna lie, y'all. Man, it was some days where I was like, what did I get myself into? How did I get here? And so thank you for the strength of this platform, I Am Dad Podcast, and all of the guests that I've had so far this year have all in some way been inspiring to me. The well-wishers, the supporters, the engagers on my social media platforms, the texts, the phone calls, the awesome compliments I get when I see people, in public. I haven't done a lot of that this year only because I've been so focused on getting my life. I've literally been on a Kenny Braswell Get Your Life Right tour. And so, which means everything from personally, professionally, business wise, spiritually, emotionally, just trying to be in a much better space for the work that I do, specifically in this area of fatherhood. So I'm grateful for being here today. Many of you also know that I'm also on another journey as I've just finished writing my book, Too Seasoned to Care. You will begin to hear my voice amplified in that area as well as it relates to really beginning to tap into the seasoned half of my life. As a father, as a husband, as a community thought leader, as a visionary, as a man of God, all of these things have contributed to the seasonedness of my life. As you can see in my beard, God has blessed me with the indicator that says, job well done in being seasoned, and all kinds of things in our life season us, right? But I want to take also a moment to just talk about a few things. I want to continue to wish you all happy Father's Day. But I did have a couple of things on my mind that I wanted to get out in this podcast. This particular Father's Day podcast is different from others. I've always never focused on the guest that was going to be on Father's Day, and I hadn't had one for this Father's Day. And someone said to me, you really should do it yourself. And I was like, yeah, what am I going to talk about? And I was like, what are you not going to talk about? And so that was the challenge and struggle in thinking about this particular podcast. Don't want to take up a whole lot of your time, but do want to take my time in talking about a couple of things. I am extremely grateful for my organization, Fathers Incorporated, who has performed beyond expectations this year. I am so proud of my staff. I am so, I don't even know the word when it comes to describing them and the commitment that they bring to the passion of working with fathers each and every day, each and every last one of them. And I'm going to do this to ensure that I don't miss any of their names, but I am going to do it. From my wife Tracy to Shani to Javin to Rodney to Darius to Kenya to Michelle to Shanti to Greg to Keith to Miss Juanita, and then all of our staff within the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse, from Patrick and then to Jackie and Tanya, and to Seth and others that have supported us through the work that we've done nationally around fatherhood. Thank you all. Thank you all for continuing to support us. We don't plan on slowing down. In fact, for Fathers Incorporated, we are taking it up a full notch over the next 5 years. We just celebrated not too long ago what we called Fire 100. And it was a challenge that my staff decided to do in terms of really trying to graduate the largest cohort of fathers to date within the grantees of the Office of Family Assistance. And we chose Fire 100 because we wanted to graduate 100 fathers who would totally come through our curriculum, receive our case management services, our referrals, and any and every other thing that we had for them. We wanted to see if this work was important enough for 100 fathers at one time to come through our program. And we did it. We exceeded that number of 100. We had an awesome graduation at the Morehouse School of Medicine, one of our partners in the work that we're doing here in Atlanta, overseas ATL, Fathers ATL, Fathers Matter ATL, I'm sorry. And so with other fatherhood organizations here in Metro Atlanta, who is working toward the goal of being able to be available service providers, for the fathers and their families here in Atlanta. If you want to see more about that graduation, just Google Fire 100, go to our website, go on our YouTube page, which we have some tremendous and awesome videos of that day, some testimonies and other things that we are still creating assets from that particular day. The other thing I want to touch base on, oftentimes I'm asked, like, how do you know you're actually having an impact? How do you know that you are impacting the lives of the fathers that you service or that you serve? And I've said oftentimes that, I know we do a good job at serving our dads, but I think the ultimate indicator of impact won't be seen in our fathers. It will be seen in their children. For me, it will happen 10 to 15 years down the road when I'm in a restaurant and someone walks up to me and says, "Are you Mr. Braswell?" And I say, "Yes." And they said, "My dad went through your program and our lives changed as a result of that. And I just want to thank you for the work that you did with my father. It is much appreciated." That's going to be an indicator for me. When I can see all of the work that we've done with our dads permeate through from them right into their families and right into their children. But there's a shorter term gratification that I get often, more often now than not, that makes my heart smile in the same manner. So two of those things just happened in the last couple of days, and then another one happened right at the beginning of the year. Right at the beginning of the year, and the first one, I was at a event hosted by Lamar Tyler and Ronnie Tyler and TSP, and we joined their community, my daughter and we walked into the room where they were introducing us. And there was a young man in there who heard my name when they introduced me specifically. And as I came around the corner, he came up to me and he said, "Mr. Braswell, I just want to thank you." He said, "Because of you, I now have custody of my daughter." And man, we're standing in the middle of the room for a whole nother reason. And I'm crying in the middle of the room because I'm looking in the eyes of this young man who is clearly happy and ecstatic and appreciative of what he went through with Gentle Warriors Academy. And so I'm always appreciative when I run into fathers and, I not that I'm ever going to be able to remember, now close to 900 plus names and 900 plus fathers who have come through our program in the last 5 years. Very difficult for me to remember all of those faces and all of those names, but I am so grateful that brothers have the patience when they see me to recognize that it's not possible for me to remember everything. But when they identify to me who they are, I just try to emotionally wrap themselves in all of the love that I have for them at the moment so that they know that I am just as appreciative of them coming through my program as they are going through my program. The second thing happened just a couple of days ago where I was speaking at an event here in Atlanta at Morehouse. And we did a panel discussion on the economic self sufficiency within the field of fatherhood. And myself and Dr. Matisa Wilbon presented at this conference. And a young man stood up and he was supposed to ask the question at the end when we had Q&A, and he says, I just want to make a statement. I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. And he says, I went through Mr. Braswell's program, Gentle Warriors Academy, and he just went on and he said the most inspiring, compassionate things that any person can hear about their calling. And I, internally teared up. He didn't talk long enough to really get me, but he got me. And it was like, man, you just never know, like, when your work is going to appear in front of you, and that the realization of the impact that you have on the community and the people that you serve will show up in a way to validate, credentialize, and justify all of the hours that you spend in the development, the creation, and the implementation of the work that you do for the people that you serve. And the one thing that I'm most proud of, and this occurred during COVID, and I made this statement and I was dead serious about this statement. And I said, what kind of not-for-profit or service provider are you if you can't be available for the people you serve at the moment that they need you the most? And I know for many of these fathers who come into our program, a lot of them come in at the crisis point, and you have to deal with the crisis before you can even get to the solution of being able to help them and support them in getting to the ultimate goal, and that is being in the lives of their children and overcoming the barriers and obstacles that serve in the manner of not allowing that to happen. And so for that young man, thank you. Thank you. And then today, a good friend of mine, Kelly Little, out of North Carolina, sends me a text message because he's coming from DC and he's advocating on behalf of fathers. And he was in the airport and he had on a shirt that spoke to his organization and his fatherhood work. And a young man saw him and saw that it was his fatherhood work. And he came up and he said, and he introduced himself and he says, hey, he says, I'm with Fathers Incorporated. And he goes on to tell Kelly about his interaction with Fathers Incorporated, so much so that he told them that my life changed as a result of being involved in Fathers Incorporated, and just glowing and glowing and glowing and more accolades that he gave me and the staff of Fathers Incorporated for having an impact on his life, so much so that the very place that he was at and ran into Kelly Little, Fathers Incorporated was instrumental in helping him get that job at the Atlanta airport. And so I can't say enough for my staff. And so those three stories are what validate the work that we do. And it's what continues to motivate me in the space of responsible fatherhood. And then there is my family, and there's my children, the people who make me a dad, right? And I am so proud, so proud, so proud of all of them. From, my children to my grand, from Monica to Tiara to Amber to Nzinga to KJ to Andrew, and then to Nyla and to Max and Nevaeh. Nevaeh graduated this year from Norfolk State University. I am so proud of her. Nzinga is just doing what Nzinga does in her business, and she is striving at levels that are mind boggling in the work that she does. KJ, you've seen me because he's the baby of the bunch, right now. Is doing his thing in basketball, both AAU and high school basketball. Andrew, his report came in. He's doing incredibly well. He's now in New York with his mom, spending some much needed time with his mother. Monica and Eric and Max now moved from Utah to Arizona, and she's building gardens all over um, Arizona and doing well. And then Tiara, the support level that she has given to Nevaeh and ensuring that she has everything that she needs to be successful in her journey of media. Ironically, right, that I'm in media and all my kids in some way or another has gotten and stuck their finger in the space of media, but she did an internship at a news station in Norfolk, Virginia, and did incredibly well. And so we're all praying for her and all looking for a successful outcome in every last one of them. And then lastly, my wife, who is my supportive backbone, who gives me the space and allows me to simply be Kenneth Braswell, to simply be the visionary, the dreamer, the implementer, the planter, the harvester, all of the things that I can do to make all of the things possible to continue to serve. And then 100 plus pound furry baby Zaire, keeps us all on our toes. And so that's the story I have to tell about Fathers Incorporated. But I did want to um, ask you the question: what story will your children tell? As a father, what story will they ultimately tell? It is something that I always think about. And I think that for many of us, at least for me, that story, whatever it is part of our legacy, is part of what we leave behind. What will our lives tell to our children that would allow them to prosper in ways that we could not? And so, in essence, fatherhood is legacy, right? And so, parenting is legacy. But because we're talking about fathers and today is Father's Day, we know that fatherhood is legacy. So, what story will your children tell? But imagine years from now, your child, who's now grown, sits amongst friends, perhaps at a gathering or around a dinner table. When the topic of family comes up, your child pauses and they begin to start speaking about their dad. And everyone is at the table because they all have their own stories, and they're wondering, what story is this child about to say? But as fathers, whether consciously or not, each day we write chapters in the lives of our children. Through every decision, every conversation, every quiet moment of presence, or painful moment of absence, we leave behind footprints that become memories, and these memories form the narrative of who we are, but it also shapes who they become. And I'm talking about our children here, right? And so I often tell people that both um, presence and absence has an impact on children. And we have to be mindful of how those two things um, present themselves in the lives of our children. When I think back on my own father, as I suggest you do as well, what I know is that there are some memories that you will cherish warmly, others will carry a sting, right? And maybe you carry his strengths with pride, or perhaps you wrestle daily with shadows of what he left behind. Whatever your story, consider deeply that you now hold the pen, the power to shape your child's narrative in ways your father did or did not do for you. Think about how this story is now creating itself. And every day you are at the helm of directing this story. Think of yourself as a filmmaker, and every day you step out into life and you are directing the narrative of your life so that the story is told in a specific way. But our legacy isn't built through grand gestures alone. It grows from 1,000 ordinary moments, bedtime stories, cheering from the sidelines, awkward talks in the car, quiet apologies, and the willingness to simply say, I love you. It grows in how we treat their mothers, how we handle stress, how we apologize when we're wrong, and how we show up vulnerably as a strength, not a weakness. And so we must remember this truth. Children watch closely, quietly observing what we prioritize. They see clearly if our actions align with our words. They are shaped not only by the moments we intentionally craft, but by those we might otherwise overlook. I was talking to Dr. Jeff Gardia today about another subject matter, and I asked him the question, um, how do you or how did you determine when you were moving beyond the living, surviving of life and moving into the living of life and the recognition that you are now the seasoned individual in the family? And he said it was when his children began to want to spend more time with him. And in that time, in those conversations, he learned very small but significant things when his children wanted him to do things that he was doing in life, but he had no idea was transmitting to his child, like how you make coffee. I want it like you used to make it. Or, how to make a drink if you're dealing with an older child, right? I want it the way you made it. And sometimes when those moments happen, it allows you to begin to start thinking about this narrative that you've been writing for so long, but never paid attention that your child was paying attention to you. And then I shared with him, for me, it's similar, but just a little different. And what always warms my heart with my children is when they're telling me a story and they're saying to me, as they're talking to someone else, be it a friend or be it a coworker or being someone else, that this is what my dad said, or this is what my dad used to do, or I do this because my dad did it that way. And a lot of times when you hear that, you have absolutely no idea what's happening. But because of all of this, right, on this Father's Day, I just invite you, I urge you to ask yourself honestly, what legacy am I actively building right now? If my children were to tell my story today, what would they say? Reflecting on these questions can be uncomfortable, even challenging, but there's profound hope here because our stories are still unfolding. We have the opportunity to rewrite, refine, and redirect our paths at any moment. I always tell people the next step can be your best step. You never not have an opportunity to change the direction of your next step. You just have to be willing, able, and committed. So today, I encourage each father listening to become intentional storytellers, authors who craft their legacy through genuine connection, courageous vulnerability, unwavering presence, and compassionate love. Let's ensure the story our children tell about us is one filled with warmth, wisdom, authenticity, one that they will proudly share, one that shapes their lives and generations to come. I cannot say Happy Father's Day enough to you, but I will say it one more time. Happy Father's Day. Let's write a legacy worth sharing.
Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us. You've been listening to I Am Dad podcast. We hope that you have been informed, encouraged you to think, or even inspired your heart for the love of dads. The conversation does not end here. Come back and join us next week. Same time, same place. Or you can continue the dialogue on our I Am Dad Facebook page. We also invite you to listen to past episodes, learn more about us, and keep up with special activities by visiting IamDadPodcast.com. That's IamDadPodcast.com. Until next time, I leave you with this reminder of manhood from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Because of this reminder, I will always understand that I am dad, period.